Welcome! Look, in the world of live production, we all know that timing isn't just important, it is everything. So today, we're diving into a really powerful tool that's designed to get your entire crew on the exact same page right down to the very last second.
I mean, that's the million-dollar question for any show director, right? You've got your camera operators, your sound engineer, a lighting tech, maybe a graphics person. How in the world do you make sure that when you say go, everyone's go happens at the exact same moment? Because we all know that one missed cue can be the difference between a totally flawless show and, well, a complete disaster.
And this is the answer. Say hello to the Live View tool. It's an advanced visualizer for BitFocus Companion, and its whole goal is actually brilliantly simple. Create one single source of truth, a synchronized clock that everyone on the team can see and follow. It means the director, the camera ops, the sound techs, everyone is looking at the exact same time.
So, to get you up and running, here's our roadmap. We're going to quickly touch on the challenge, introduce the tool in a bit more detail, and then run through a pre-show checklist. After that, we get to the fun part, building your timeline and running the live show. And then we'll wrap up with some pro tips that are going to make a huge difference. So yeah, the core challenge is just coordinating a ton of different actions across a whole team of specialists. You're firing off graphics, switching cameras, playing audio cues, and it all has to happen with absolute precision. And let's be honest, traditional paper cue sheets and just shouting across the room, they just don't cut it when things start getting complicated. And that is exactly where Live View comes in. You should think of it less like a clock and more like a dynamic visual timeline. For the director, it's basically mission control. For a camera operator, it's this crystal clear heads-up display of their next shot. And for the sound engineer, it's the perfect countdown to that next audio cue. And here are the core features that make it so powerful. You're getting a real-time display of the whole show. It syncs flawlessly with the companion software you already use, and you get these big, clear countdown-style cues for everyone. But you know what the real game changer is? It's that dedicated, super simplified view for camera operators on their phones. It's just awesome.
All right, before we build our masterpiece, we gotta get our workspace ready. A little prop work right now is gonna make sure everything runs like absolute clockwork on show day.
The requirements are actually pretty straightforward. You'll need BitFocus Companion running, a modern web browser, and of course your active Companion project file. Now for the network, a simple local setup is all you need for the director's dashboard. But if you want to use that amazing camera view feature, you will need an internet connection for that initial peer-to-peer handshake.
Now there's a quick, one-time setup you have to do inside Companion to make sure it can talk to the Live View tool. It's easy. Just open the Companion interface, head over to Settings, and make sure two things are turned on: WebSocket, which usually runs on port 16623, and the HTTP API, which defaults to port 8000. And that's it. You're ready to go.
All right, now for the really fun part, actually mapping out your show. This is where you take a static, boring run of show document and turn it into a living, breathing, automated timeline. Okay, so before you do anything else, you need to tell LiveView what gear you're controlling. You'll do that in the Connection Manager. You just add each device, your video switcher, your audio playback software, whatever you're using, and give it a name. This is how the tool knows what actions are available when you start building your cues. So with your connections all set up, you hit your first big decision. Is your show driven by a strict clock, kind of like a corporate event? Or do your cues need to be perfectly synced to a video or an audio file, like for a concert? The good news is, this tool handles both. It really breaks down like this. You're going to use the manual timeline for events where cues happen at specific times, 10 seconds in, 30 seconds in, and so on. And you'll use the media timeline when your cues have to be locked perfectly to a video or an audio track. Just pick the one that fits your show structure. Let's start with the manual timeline. Think of this as your canvas. You can see the timeline ruler right at the top. Each row is a different track, which is fantastic for organizing different kinds of cues. Like, you could have one track just for camera cuts and another one just for graphics. Building a timeline here is incredibly fast once you learn a few shortcuts. Just hit C to drop a new cue right at your playhead, use the spacebar to play and pause. You can add more tracks for more complex sequences, and pretty much everything is drag and drop. Just grab a cue and slide it to a new time. It's honestly that intuitive. Now, let's switch over to the media timeline. With this one, everything starts with an audio or a video file. So instead of placing cue blocks on a timeline, you're placing these little markers, these little diamonds, at specific points in the media itself. When the playback hits that marker, your action fires. It's the absolute perfect way to guarantee a lighting change happens on the exact beat of the music. Okay, you've done all the pep work, you've built your masterpiece of a timeline. It's showtime. Let's take a look at how you actually execute the show on the day. This is the director dashboard. This is your command center. Up at the top, you've got your main controls, like load, connect, and start. Over on the left, you see the two most important numbers, that big red countdown to your very next cue, and the yellow total runtime. And right in the center, you have your timeline views, so you can see exactly what's coming up next. Getting the show live is just a simple 4-step process. First, you load your configuration file. Second, give your settings a quick little check to make sure everything looks right. Third, you hit connect and wait for that really satisfying green light. And finally, you press start, either in the interface or on your Stream Deck, and your entire automated show just begins to roll. So the director is all set, right? But what about the people who need this info the most, right now? How do we get this perfectly timed information to the camera operators who are out on the floor without, distracting them? And this is the magic trick. The director just clicks the Share P2P button, and it generates a QR code. The camera operators scan that code with their phones, and boom, they get this beautiful, simplified vertical cue sheet. It shows them what shot is live, what shot is next, and a big countdown timer for their next cue. And it stays perfectly in sync, automatically. No more missed camera switches. It's just brilliant. Okay, to round this whole thing out, let's cover a couple of things that'll take you from being a beginner to a pro user and help you solve any little hiccups you might run into along the way. Okay, listen up, because this is a crucial pro tip. The stop button in the live view interface, it only stops the visual timeline from highlighting cues. Your actual show in Companion keeps on running. So to create a true panic button that halts everything, you need to build a manual stop button inside Companion itself that aborts all your running sequences. This is an absolute lifesaver, trust me. And hey, if things do go wrong, don't panic. If you see a disconnected message, just make sure Companion is running and WebSocket is on. Start button not working, just double check that the HTTP API is enabled. If a camera operator's phone gets out of sync, just tell them to give it a few seconds to self-heal. This little chart is your quick reference to get back on track super fast. By giving your entire crew a single visual source of truth, the Live View tool really does transform potential chaos into a perfectly orchestrated performance. So with this kind of power at your fingertips, the real question is, what ambitious show are you going to conquer next?